When the last passenger leaves the terminal, don't look at who's still sitting there. You probably think you know what fear is. You don't, not until you've sat in an empty bus terminal at 2 a.m., surrounded by the hum of buzzing lights and the stink of stale coffee, realizing you're not as alone as you should be. I learned that the hard way, and if you ever find yourself in the same situation, you'd better remember what I'm about to tell you. The night it happened, I was stuck in the East Line terminal. My connecting bus never showed, and the station's schedule board just blinked delayed in that smug, unhelpful way machines do when they know you can't do anything about it. People trickled out slowly until there were only 3 of us left, me, a middle-aged woman reading a magazine, and a man in a dark coat sitting at the far end of the waiting area. By 1:50 a.m., the woman got up, grabbed her purse, and walked out into the cold. I heard the hiss of the bus door as it shut, and then there was just me. And him. The man didn't move. Didn't even turn his head to watch her go. He sat perfectly still, hands on his knees, staring straight ahead like he was waiting for something. I was about to pull out my phone when I felt a small weight in my coat pocket. I reached in and pulled out a folded scrap of paper. It wasn't there before. My name wasn't on it. It just said this. Rules to survive the terminal after hours. 1. When the last passenger leaves, do not make eye contact with anyone still sitting. 2. If you hear them sigh, do not turn toward the sound, they're only trying to make you acknowledge them. 3. Do not answer if they speak, no matter what voice they use. 4. If they stand, close your eyes until you hear footsteps fade completely. If you hear none, keep your eyes shut until morning. 5. If you smell something metallic, leave the terminal immediately without looking back. 6. Never, ever sit where they sat. I stared at the paper, my mouth dry. I don't know why I didn't crumple it up and laugh it off. Maybe it was the way the handwriting looked, shaky, desperate. Or maybe it was the feeling I got when I realized I couldn't remember seeing the man in the coat arrive. At 2:07 a.m., it began. The man let out a long, slow sigh. I froze, the rules screaming in my head. It didn't sound like a normal breath. It was wet and bubbling, like hair escaping through thick syrup. My eyes stayed locked on the floor, but I could feel him watching me. Then he spoke. Honey? It's me. Look at me. It was my mother's voice. Perfect. Same tone, same warmth. My stomach turned over. My mother's been dead for years. He tried again. My father's voice, calm and reassuring. Then my best friend's voice, frantic and pleading. Then my own voice, trembling like I'd been crying. Please. Look. It's not what you think. I gripped the paper so hard it tore at the edges. My brain screamed to turn and see, but my legs locked in place. Then I heard the sound of him standing. The bench creaked under his weight, followed by the faintest tapping noise on the linoleum, not footsteps, but like long fingernails drumming on the floor. The sound got closer. I shut my eyes tight. The air around me chilled, my breath coming out in shallow bursts. I could smell something metallic now, sharp and thick, like rusted iron. The tapping stopped just inches from me. I don't know how long we stayed like that, me trembling in my seat, eyes squeezed shut, while whatever it was stood there. Eventually, I heard the tapping move away. The sound didn't fade the way footsteps should, it was more like it just stopped being here. When I opened my eyes, the far bench was darker than the rest of the room, like the light refused to touch it. I didn't wait for my bus. I walked out into the freezing night, rules still clutched in my hand, and I've never gone back to that terminal. But sometimes, when I pass other stations late at night, I catch sight of someone sitting alone after everyone else has gone. Sometimes I see their head turn, as if they're watching me pass by. And once, just once, I swear I heard my mother's voice call my name. It happened 3 months later, halfway across the state. I was at a tiny rural gas station just before midnight, waiting for a rideshare that was already 20 minutes late. The attendant had stepped outside for a smoke, leaving me alone with the buzzing drink cooler and the soft flicker of an ancient TV mounted high in the corner. I was scrolling through my phone when I heard it, soft, clear, and impossibly close. Daniel? I froze. That voice. I hadn't heard it since that night at the East Line terminal. My mother's voice. Perfect in pitch and tone. My gut turned to stone. Slowly, my eyes drifted toward the large glass window at the front of the store. That's when I saw him. He was sitting on the metal bench just outside, hands on his knees, head lowered slightly. The same dark coat. The same impossible stillness. Even through the glass, I could tell something was wrong. His posture was strained, like the bones underneath didn't fit together right. His head tilted upward a fraction, and I swear I saw a sliver of a smile, one too wide, stretching almost to his ears. I stepped backward until my legs bumped the counter. My phone slipped from my hand. I didn't pick it up. The smell hit me next, faint but sharp, like blood that had dried hours ago. I tried to remember the rules, even though I wasn't in a terminal. Don't make eye contact. But here's the thing, I wasn't sure if the rules applied outside of that place. And the longer I stood there, the more I felt like maybe they didn't matter anymore. The bench outside creaked. The man, no, the thing, rose in one slow, jerking motion, as if the air around him was thicker than it should be. His hands hung at his sides, fingers twitching slightly, nails long enough to glint in the dim yellow light from the street lamp. He stepped forward once, twice, and then, in the space of a blink, he was gone. The door behind me chimed. I spun around, expecting the attendant, but no one came in. Only the faint sound of something dripping. I looked down. A thin red thread lay across the floor, stretching from the entrance toward the far aisle. My pulse pounded in my ears. I didn't follow it. I didn't need to. I bolted outside and didn't stop until I was 2 blocks away. I don't even remember how I got home that night. Since then, I've seen him 3 more times. Never up close, but always close enough that I can tell it's the same figure, the same wrong stillness. Once, I saw him standing on the far end of a train platform as I pulled away. Another time, he was in the crowd at a festival, unmoving while everyone else swayed to the music. The last time, I woke to find him standing across the street from my apartment at 4 a.m., directly under the only street light still burning. Every time, I hear a voice. Sometimes it's my mother's. Sometimes my own. Sometimes it's a voice I don't recognize, whispering words I can't quite make out. But the tone is always the same, coaxing, patient, like it knows it is all the time in the world. I've started to realize something I wish I hadn't. The night at East Line wasn't the first time he saw me. And it sure as hell won't be the last. Because lately, I've noticed that no matter where I go, I'm never the last passenger to leave anymore. There's always someone still sitting there, watching me, waiting for me to break the rules. And the rules only work if you believe they still matter. I used to think that meant I just had to keep faith in them, treat them like some kind of supernatural safety blanket. But now I think it's the other way around. The rules stop working the second you start to doubt them, and he knows exactly how to make you doubt. That's the real game. It started small. I'd catch a flicker of movement in the corner of my eye on the bus, or in the reflection of a cafe window. Just a shadow, I told myself. Just nerves. Then I started hearing it, my name, soft and warm, exactly the way my mother used to say it when she was waking me for school. The first few times, I shut my eyes and pretended I hadn't heard. But one night, walking home from work, I made the mistake of turning around. He was leaning against a lamppost 2 blocks back, the hood of his coat pushed just far enough to reveal that wide, wrong smile. His head was tilted again, but further this time, almost sideways, and in the harsh white glare of the bulb above him, his skin looked stretched, as if it barely covered the shape underneath. His hands hung low, fingers swaying slightly, nails catching the light with each sway. He didn't move toward me. He didn't have to. I turned away and walked faster, but the sound of a bench creaking echoed in the empty street, though there was no bench anywhere near us. That night, I dreamed of a terminal I'd never seen before. It was cleaner than East Line, bright with artificial light, but wrong in ways I couldn't name. There were no people. No buses. Just row after row of benches, and at the far end, sitting perfectly still, was the man in the dark coat. Except this time, his head wasn't tilted, it was facing directly forward. His mouth opened in a slow, deliberate movement, and instead of words, a deep, wet breathing filled the air. I woke up with the sound still in my ears and the taste of metal on my tongue. I started carrying my phone everywhere, recording videos whenever I caught a glimpse of him. But in every single clip, the spot where he stood was empty, like he'd been cut out of the footage entirely. Once, I tried to take a picture without looking directly at him. The result was worse. The image was warped, stretched, and in the center of the blur, I could see dozens of pale, reaching hands pressed against something invisible, as if pushing to get through. The sightings grew bolder. I'd be in a crowded place and notice him across the way, not even pretending to blend in. He was at the grocery store once, standing at the end of an aisle, a jar of something red in one hand. I swear it was pulsing. Another time, he was inside a moving bus that passed me on the street, sitting by the window, his eyes locked on mine until the bus turned the corner. The last time was only a week ago. I was in a laundromat, the hum of dryers filling the air, when the woman beside me leaned down and whispered in my ear. "You dropped this." She held out her hand, and in her palm was a long red thread. Before I could answer, I caught a reflection in the glass of the dryer door, him, sitting 2 chairs away, smiling wider than I'd ever seen, his jaw opening until I could see darkness spilling out. When I looked back, the woman was gone. The thread was still in my hand. I left my clothes there. I left the building without looking back. But when I got home, there was a single red thread tied neatly to my front door handle. I haven't left my apartment in days. The rules are all I have left. I repeat them in my head every night, but I can feel them slipping away the longer I stay inside. Sometimes I hear footsteps outside my door, slow and deliberate. Sometimes I hear that voice, my mother's, my own, voices of people I've never met, asking me to just open up. And last night, as I lay in bed, I realized something that's made it hard to breathe ever since. I'm not the last passenger anymore. I'm not even in the terminal. But somehow, he's still sitting right next to me.